Jakiva Phillips again, bringing you yet another episode of ZSides, the show based on WordlitZine, our local quarterly magazine. Now, this show, for those of you tuning in for the first time, is where I get to interview all of these amazing poets, writers, and storytellers. And today, I have a brand new friend for us. She's not quite a poet, she's not quite a writer, she's not quite a theater goddess. She is, in fact, all three. So please help me welcome Avianna Rodriguez-Brown.
We have descended from the clouds to be what you need us to be and bring you to light on a couple of things. Listen up, earthlings. Release your minds to me so I might feast on the thoughts of your memories. The universe is calling you back to which you came. Refrain from any sudden activity in your brain. This ought not be hard, as you've relinquished all power to those whom have taught you how not to be on guard. So listen once and for all, we come in peace, but there is no denying who we might be. We are your liberators, your peacemakers, your everlasting sanity. We release you from all pre-planted seeds of judgment, superiorism, and resentment, and instead plant the seeds of all-knowing love, peace, and acceptance. And furthermore, the understanding that you need the trees in order to breathe. We need the trees in order to breathe. Forget wants, for all that you possess is all you have ever truly needed and nothing more. Change hangs thick in the air. I see it in all of you, and feel it within this body you have been privileged to see. Rest easy and at peace, for tomorrow is anew, and today we wash your sins of hatred away. Release your minds to me, so I might feast on the thoughts of what this world might be. We have descended from the sky to bring you to light on a couple of things.
Hey everybody, I am here with Avianna Rodriguez-Brown. Yes, that's good. She waved back at her. Do it. Okay. Now, Avianna, I'm so happy to actually be able to sit down and chat with you because I saw a play that you directed, right?
Co-directed.
Co-directed with Anastasia, who, Anastasia and I are really good friends. And so when I was thinking about another episode of ZSides, I was like, I want to talk to her. And I was like, Anastasia, what's her name? And so I'm really happy to sit down and chat with you because I just thought you did a wonderful job co-directing Queer Mama Crossroads. So for the people who missed it, please tell everybody about this amazing play.
Queer Mama Crossroads followed the lives of 3 non-binary queer Black women who were eventually killed by police brutality. It's suggested they were killed by police brutality. And then we see them cross over into this beautiful spiritual realm, and they are guided by spirits into their passing. And sadly, the show depicts that this cycle continues because we see the spirit receive another 3 people who are killed again by police brutality. So it was very thick.
Yes, it was very intense, but it was one of those intensities that we all need to sit in this intensity and hear the stories. And I really, I loved how, for those who did not see it, the stage is 3 pictures, so you have, there's one actor who's stage left, another actor who's in the center, and there's another actor stage right. And then they each kind of have their moment to tell their stories. Why was that?
We felt that it was very important to see and live with these characters. The writing in the piece was quite short. It was, each person had a monologue about a page long. And so for me, coming from musical theater background where we have 60 to 120 pages, I was like, how do I do this? Honestly, I was just like, how do I showcase a whole world and another world in 8 pages? And so that was my biggest challenge. And immediately, it had to be that we
we learned of the characters. We learned of their lives. We learned of their relationship to their kids and how each one of them addressed their child, how they felt when they were around their child. And that way, the audience would actually feel that detachment as soon as they were killed. And it had to be that shock factor because that's what it is for all of us who ever experience a loss in that traumatic sense, especially, is that it's just like something pops and it just happens. There's no way to control it. There's no way to plan for it. There's no way to know. But yet, as Black people in America, we know walking outside the door that this could be the last day. So it was, how do I depict that, knowing that my audience was primarily white? How do I get them to care? So for the first, I want to say, each character sat on stage and just lived in their boxed out space for about 3 to 5 minutes. And it was long.
It was.
It felt long, right?
Yeah, it did.
Even for the actors, they're like, are you sure? And I was like, I promise you, yes.
It's working.
Yes, do what you got, just live in the space, that's it. And then when it happened, and I could feel the reverberation of what that did to the audience just by sitting in it. So it worked.
Yeah, it definitely did. I also really appreciated that you kind of got 3 different kinds of people, different kinds of stories. Like, I love how the one person is like on the phone with this, like the bill was like saying her name over and over again, or their name over and over again, saying their name over and over again. Like, it's like, we've all been there where it's like, oh God, I just want to talk to a real person to handle this bill issue, right? And then we had somebody who's like getting ready, and it was like, we've all done that.
Ready.
Yeah, it's Saturday night ready, right? Like, oh yeah. And then just like a busy young mom, like handling all this stuff with her kid, and it was a portrait. You know, you took 3 separate portraits, but in a way it was an all-encompassing portrait of just like how we are in all aspects of our lives, right? The mundane, the busy, the excited, you know, and how, you know, when that's all taken away, all the things that we think about in life, right? Life can be mundane, but it's still life, and when it's taken away, it's just like jarring. So yeah, I loved everything about it. Is there any chance of it, you know, coming back?
This was the second iteration, and this was also the original cast. So Anastasia and this cast did the first iteration, I want to say a year ago, in Gay City, right down the street. And from what I hear, it was mainly just monologue. There was no lights, there was no set, there was no costume. It was just, we're telling a story and here's what it is. So it was a very different feel. From people who had seen it prior and come and seen it secondary, it was completely different, which is amazing. I think anytime that something is produced again, it should always feel like some type of evolution.
Oh yeah.
Something new should come of it. And so I would love to do it again. I think that larger audiences need to see it. I have this crazy grandiose idea that these women are in an art gallery surrounded by art that depicts their story a little bit better, and that there's a spotlight on the person and they come to life and they tell their story. And then over here, there's a spotlight on a person, they come to life and tell it. So like, that would be my next step.
Yeah.
But I haven't sat with Anastasia. We're both so busy all over the place. So it's like, hey, busy woman, can you sit down for coffee? No? Okay, maybe next year. See you later.
Yeah, I definitely, same thing whenever I chat with her. We're both like, ooh, we're doing dueling schedules all the time. And it's like, oh, I guess I'll see you in a couple months.
We'll try next season.
But it's good being busy. We're not complaining.
Oh, no.
We love
Stay
being
booked.
busy, right? Exactly. Stay booked. Hashtag stay booked. I know there's so many other things you do. I just want to ask you a couple more questions about Queer Mama Crossroads,
yes,
because typically for, you know, ZSides, we like to interview people who are, you know, fiction writers and poets. You're a different kind of storyteller, and yes, you are, you know, you're a poet and a performance artist as well, but thinking about, you know, there are different ways to tell stories in this city, and there are different aspects of how we go about, you know, sharing our art, being literary creatives. That's what I like to call it, literary creative. And so I guess, yeah, that's a little bit of my question to you is, you know, working with somebody like Anastasia, who's a poet, like, and then your expertise, how did that all kind of come together?
Originally, I was brought on as the stage manager, because Anastasia is more on the literary side, and they have this beautiful piece. And then Annex was like, how can we pair you with someone who's going to help you bring this to life in the best way possible? And I think the more and more we got closer and closer, and all these like sitting with designers and talking about what the set was and talking about lights and things like that, Anastasia was like, yeah, I think, humbly, very beautifully and humbly said, I think I need a little bit more help. And I was like, great, I'll step up to the challenge. And so it was a challenge, definitely. But I was blessed to bring on a whole team of designers that I went to high school with. So I'm from Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
So
Seattle power. Woo-hoo.
hey.
There we go.
So yeah, it was just beautiful to be in a room with people who I could speak as honestly as possible, and no one took it as offensive. No, you know, like, for example, there was one time I told my lighting designer, hey, this looks like throw up. Can we change it up, please? And he knew exactly what, he's like, yeah, I got you. And I was like, thank you. And you know, but if I had said that in another room where someone didn't know me and knew that that was coming from a place of love, that may have been like a whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Especially in Seattle.
Derailed everything, right?
Exactly. So I think that once I was asked to step into the room a little bit more firmly, I really did take that on, and it felt really good to say, you know, I think, what if this is this and this and this? And so Anastasia and I would sit during rehearsal and say, I liked what this was, I didn't like what this was. It was beautiful to be able to bring my expertise, about 15 years now of being in large theater, to a small house with small capabilities, and say, what's realistic, what's fantasy, and how can we strip that away and see what can we produce appropriately in the space with what we have, and how can you be happy as the writer and the director? How can I be happy as the technical and the director? And how can this be a safe and loving environment? Also, the biggest concern was, how do we keep our Black, femme, non-binary people safe, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, dying on stage 15 plus times?
Yeah.
So it was a challenge. We did a lot of just spiritual connectivity, group connectivity work. We did a lot of emotional work. I had to do a lot of, hey, leave your person at the door. When you walk in this door, you are the character. That way you and the character don't ever mesh too far, because like I said, we as Black people walk out the door with that heightened fear already. Not so much maybe in Seattle, maybe. But
certain areas for sure.
Yeah, but definitely that's just an encompassment of our being. And so how to protect these people who are literally putting their lives in our hands in a way, and telling this story so honestly. So
that's great. Are you, you mentioned working in theaters and that you have a musical theater background. Is that what you went to school for?
I did. I have training in musical theater. I went actually out to New York.
Really?
We were talking about New York earlier, yeah.
Nice. Do you like it out there?
I love and miss New York so bad. If anyone wants to buy me a ticket, I'll be out there anytime you want.
Seconded.
Anytime you want.
So is it more on stage, or do you also have like directing and writing? Like what's the whole, tell me about your...
Me.
Yes, you, yes.
Actually, my Oracle card recently named me, and I thought it was very appropriate. Avianna Creatrix. Very much like what you would think of a dominatrix, but like someone who is encompassing of creative energy and just creates anywhere that they go. I have all different types of experience. When it comes to money, I really am a stage manager, because that's what pays the most in this city, unless you're an equity actor. Let's just be real. And then I have training in musical theater. From there, I did some backstage work in New York, off Broadway, did some PAing, assistant stage managing, came home, directed my first piece. It was a very short two-person play. And then from there, I've really just anything and everything I can do. I've been a prop master, I've been a director, I've been a assistant director, I've been a stage manager, assistant stage manager, production assistant.
It's all around theater queen is what I'll just call you.
And I love it. I love being a part of the greater scheme of the art.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Knowing that I put something in to make this production happen is joyful for me.
Yeah. So you're the director of Copious Venue Space. Yes. Tell me about that.
I have always wanted a place where people can come together and create art in an equity standpoint. People of all abilities can come to it, and people with all of producing abilities can produce art there. Mm-hmm. And so Copious really aligns with that. They have a space that's for artists by artists, and it's able to be rented by anyone. It's quite equitable, and the ticket prices are rangeable. Pay what you can is the least amount that anyone can pay, and the most amount is like you can donate whatever you want.
That's good.
So, yes.
So what about you? What are you producing? What are you creating aside from being an amazing badass over at Copious?
I'm also stage managing with Valerie Curtis Newton over at Arts West, and that is a show written by Dominique Monserrat, who wrote Sunset Baby, and it's a father-daughter story, and it's really a story about forgiveness, and it's an all-black cast, and it's also, we're taking over that space. Just gonna hop on over to White Ass What Seattle.
I think I'm gonna subtitle this episode "Brown People Take Over."
I called it out in Thanksgiving last year. I was giving the grace, and I was like, "This is the year of the takeover," and everyone's looking at me like, "What is she talking about?" And I'm like, "Just go with it. This is the year of the takeover. We will be everywhere because we deserve to be everywhere."
Exactly, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I will say that I am starting to see more plays. I'm starting to see more productions. I'm starting to see more ideas just coming out by people who are sort of on the fringes of like Seattle, right? Mm-hmm. And it's we were chatting with Claudio Castro Luna in a previous episode, and she was talking about how to bring voices over from Eastern Washington, how to get more Latin voices, and how to showcase those voices. And it's a real question of how do we bring all of the diversity of Seattle to the forefront in its art, because that's how you begin to see people, is if you can first see their art, you can hear their voices, hear their words. That's when you really begin to open yourself up to their point of view. And then once you're able to do that, then you're able to have a real conversation, right? It's not until we're able to sit down and break bread and understand each other's point of view that real conversations can start to happen. And that definitely starts with the art, I think. So, are you writing anything?
I have been doing some research on a project that I want to write about.
Okay.
And this is a little far out, but I'm in the preliminary research stance. And it's a story about Gladys Bentley, who was a drag king performer between 1930s and the 1960s when she passed, in the New York Harlem Renaissance era, like very much a very big name apparently, but none of us know her. Did you know that name before?
No, I didn't. I like perked right up.
I know, right? Plus size drag king, and her ensemble were all drag queens. So this is like huge, and no one's talking about it. Well, there are people, but now I just need to know. So I'm doing all types of research. I was just in New York, and I had produced my own solo show, which was on tour in Philly, DC, and New York in August. Nice. And I took some time away from that and went to the Performing Arts Library and watched some archival videos, did some literal book digging. For those of you who don't know what a book is, you have to like open it and like actually read the words. It's so crazy. It doesn't read to you. Like,
wait, you mean it's not this slick machine and I hit the button and then no?
I know. I was taken aback. It was really weird to like go in and open a file cabinet and be like, oh wait, I have to go through the newspaper clippings.
Yeah, you can't just be like, Google, Bentley, go.
Yeah, it only takes you so far. So it was really beautiful to smell newspaper and to smell ink and to see dust when I turned a page. So it was encouraging because I'm very much in the love of vintage things. Mm-hmm. I'm just fascinated by, wait, you had to crank to get water, you know, like all these things. And so I'm just really fascinated by that. So to do that type of physical on-hand research was really beautiful. And I'll delve into it. I want to know more. I'm interested. If any of her family see this video, please email me, please contact me, Google me, I'm Googleable. I would love to talk about her story and to get permission to produce it, because I want to know, like, were the other women of that time for her, against her? You know, like, was Bessie Smith, who we look up to for being so forward, was she not so forward in this instance? Or I just wonder, like, how did the other women of her time treat her?
Yeah.
Because nowadays we see women either be all for each other or completely against each other by the ways of the time. And towards the end of her life, in my research, I found out that she actually married a man after having a wife, and had been institutionalized, and then came out with a declaration of her rehabilitation after she was married, and like all these things. So I'm just like, wow, did this woman really feel that way? Or was this something she covered up so she could get jobs because she started to be blacklisted? Also, what is blacklisted? And like, how does that work when a whole city bands behind someone to say, no, they can't work in this city anymore because XYZ. I'm also working on an intergenerational novel that talks about all the aspects of my life: spirituality, the church, because I was raised in the Catholic Church, and just many things of family, many things, and all the things that go into them. But my fascination, actually, that I want to incorporate into the book is drugs and drug use. So at the end of each chapter, my addicts in the room or online will understand a little bit better what I'm talking about. But anytime we get super stressed out, and I am an addict, I will always be an addict. I'm working every day towards my addiction, away from my addiction. But whenever we have something that stresses us out, there's something that we want to go to that is a stress reliever, something to take the edge off. And so, for example, whenever my family really gets into religious talk, though none of them attend church, they will really trigger me, and I'll want to escape in some way. So at the end of each chapter is the drug that I associate with that particular subject matter. And then it's just a little breakdown, and I'm thinking actually like a QR code at this point, or a detachable pamphlet, because it's not necessarily don't do this drug, because I don't believe in that. I believe in education, and here's what's happening. So here's what your body is looking for. If you're looking for this drug, you're actually wanting to heighten your endorphins. Here's how you can do it naturally. Here's what it's going to, what the chemical will actually do to your body. You know, so it's more of an informational, and this is the drug that I mentally, physically, emotionally associate when I get stressed out about this part of my life.
Oh, wow. That is truly a very original idea. I've never heard anybody like mention that. Yeah, it's hers. It's on camera, so you can't take it.
It's already 7 chapters in, so please don't.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I love what you said about education, because I do think that I've never done any drug in my life, and the DARE program is not the reason why. In fact, I did the DARE program and I was sitting there in class being like, this is the kind of that makes people want to do drugs. I was like, because as a punk rock kid, so it's like, this makes me want to do it anyway. Because it's like, just to say don't and to scare people is not going to work. That's not any way to get people to understand something. I love the idea of, if you're searching for this drug, it's because maybe your body wants this. That's actually pretty cool.
Similar to, if you think you're hungry, you're actually probably thirsty.
Yeah.
It's that same thought process.
Yeah. Maybe I'm always really thirsty because I eat a lot, but I don't drink any water. I don't know.
Yes.
But why have water when you can have pad thai? I don't know. No. Well, I'm so excited. You are one of a couple people I've recently interviewed that have things in the works. They have projects that they're doing, and so I'm very, very thrilled about my reading list in the next couple of years, or my theater experience in the next couple of years, because I think there's a lot of really interesting art being produced. How did you come across Bentley?
The New York Times has this really great archival database. They actually give obituaries to people who never got them. And it's very interesting. I've actually just subscribed to it, so every few days we get a new obituary, and I learn something new about someone somewhere who spent time in New York, or who changed something in New York, who did some type of shift to the New York culture scene or whatever. And so she was one of them. And I was like, what? And the picture is great. She's in this all white tailed suit. She has a top hat on. I would have never known she was a girl when I was looking at her. And then I had to read the story and I was like, wow, why don't we know? Like, that's my idol right there.
Right.
And I'm wearing a vest now, but I started dressing in men's clothes as a safety for when I was homeless in New York.
Oh, wow.
It was just a way for me not to be bothered.
Yeah.
And so I actually just put on a lot of layers, and then I bulked up and I walked like a dude.
Yeah. You kind of like shoulders, you know, yeah.
Wore a hat, slicked my hair back, and that was my way to stay safe on the streets. And so it's something that I've just continued to incorporate into my comfortability and be able to outwardly dress in my attire and be a little more non-binary and be more comfortable in my skin.
Yeah, that's crazy. The fact that like the only way to survive is to like try to dress like a man in order to like get people to leave you alone. It's like we've all seen that in like medieval stories about the girl who like cuts her hair to look like a boy. It's like we thought those days are behind us, but apparently centuries later, no. But
2012?
Yeah.
2012, that was when all that happened for me, so.
That's crazy. Well, I think we are nearing the end. It means it's time for you to either play a nerdy game or showcase a hidden talent.
Well, I have some talent.
Yes, what's your talent?
I juggle to pass the time at bus stops, during tech, whenever I need to just free my mind and focus on one thing and one thing only because I'm everywhere.
Yeah.
I juggle.
You juggle? Okay. Juggling has literally been the bane of my existence. I take circus classes, I do aerial, I do tight wire, and like I always wanted to juggle. And so one summer I was like, this is gonna be the summer you juggle. And it was so hard, I couldn't do it. So this is an elusive form to me.
Okay.
Dazzle me with the beauty that is juggling.
Well, you've taken all the classes, but I think one of the things that is really big is like this egg shape. This egg shape must happen. And when the egg is like, when you're out here, your hands are actually aligning. So that's what is continuous.
Oh, okay.
You guys will be able to tell whether or not I'm actually doing it right because of the egg shape. Just what more? Yay.
I feel like a little puppy at Wimbledon. I'm just like, the balls are everywhere. That's so amazing. Aviana Rodriguez Brown, everybody. You know the rules. You're supposed to clap for them even though they can't hear you. All right.
Thank you.
Everybody, Aviana Rodriguez Brown, once more time. She's amazing. Please go see shows at Copious. Go and like see the amazing work that she is helping to produce, to help run. She is one of the great people in theater. She is the woman behind the other people behind the other people doing other things, which means that she's really controlling everything. All right. I am your faithful host, as always, Jakiva Phillips, reminding you guys to read, to write, to produce, to make merry things happen, and of course, buy some damn books. All right. Bye, everyone. See you soon.
Bye.
All right.